Hello, Cosmic Family. It's so good to see you. It's good to be back. And today, well, I've got my golden milk again. And today I wanted to do a follow-up to the last Ascension update because it was, for me, as I know for many of you, a powerful moment of sharing some truth, some uncomfortable truths. And it was amazing to have your support. So thank you to all of you. I know we've been chatting back and forth through the comments. I really appreciate you commenting and I really encourage it. I read every single one of them and I hope that I have the time to reply to all of them, even though it's not always possible. At the same time, there were some of you, maybe you aren't watching anymore because some thought that the message they were confused. They thought, well, what does this have to do with spirituality? What does the reptilian agenda and the elites, that's political, you know, the Cabal, that's political. What does it have to do with spirituality? And that's what I wanted to focus on in this video, in this chill out, in this chilling in, chilling out, just hanging out time. I wanted to focus on why does all that matter to anyone on a spiritual path? Well, let's face it, everyone is on a spiritual path. Every single person, whether they are awake or not, whether they are aware of it or not, we're all on a spiritual path because, as the Pleiadians say, they say, you are a spirit with a body. You're not a body with a spirit, okay? You are a spirit first and foremost. That is the most eternal part of us. And then we incarnate. And when we incarnate here on earth, we choose so specifically because of this earthly environment. And so there is a very, very, very specific reason why we are here at this point in time. And the earth is an incredible place. And it has so much to offer. And spirits love to come into this environment to continue their evolution and their expansion. And at the same time, part of it is because of the circumstances. And so part of the circumstances is understanding how this environment works. That's how we can begin to transcend it. And here comes into play speaking about the reptilian agenda and the elites, because this is where we understand how the system is set up. And when we can understand it from a spirit perspective and see it from a spirit perspective, it's not about getting into politics or anything because it completely transcends that. And I'm going to come back to that in a little bit. It's really about understanding the world that we are in. And when we gain this greater perspective, then that's when we truly wake up. Now, for some, it's too uncomfortable to really get to see how the environment is. It's too uncomfortable. So of course they're going to say, you know what? I'd rather not see this. I don't want to hear this. This is a conspiracy theory. This is political. I don't do politics. This is this and that. And it's not. It's all spiritual because the spirit comes into this environment to experience all of it. And part of what the state the spirit is in and wants to expand in is the state of pure freedom. However, what happens is we are now there's always some kind of force that is trying to create a system to enslave the spirit, to enslave the human. And it's very easy to fall prey to these systems because, well, we are in a physical environment. So if all we see is this physical environment and even a small fraction of how this physical environment works, well, then it's very easy to get stuck, to feel stuck, and then to go through life and get to our transition place and say, well, what was this all about? So the reason why I shared that and why I mentioned that it has infiltrated all these different areas of life is not to say that all these different areas of life are bad. Like, we're talking about medicine, education, and politics, and religion, and entertainment. The truth is how these are used to keep us sort of small and to make us feel that without these systems, then we cannot really figure it out. Let's say education. This is a huge one. And for the purpose of this video, I won't go to all of them because we'll be here all day and night, but let's say education. The education system of the last 100 years or so has been one that has really been training the human mind from a very young age to be one of an automaton, of a rule follower, of going after prizes and rewards that really hold no true substance to it, and creating a being that's emotionally dependent and creating a being that's intellectually dependent. And so there's a wonderful, wonderful book called Dumbing Us Down. And it was written by a New York City school teacher. Highly recommend it. And he goes into detail of how the school system does this. Now, the truth is, when we speak about these things, it's not about to freak out and say, oh, this is terrible, and what is this world we're living in? No, it's about understanding the world that we are living in, and from that spiritual perspective, that greater perspective, imagining a new way of improving, a new way of liberating ourselves first and foremost. And it's only from that place that we can begin to then give birth to the ideas, that we can begin to be inspired to take the kind of action that actually brings about this really impactful transformation in the world without. But again, it starts with us. It starts within, and it starts at home, so to speak, right? So the truth is, though, if your whole family, because this goes quite a few generations now, where our parents were raised a certain way and their parents were raised a certain way, right? So even the homes that we are born into, our parents are sort of following the orders of the systems already created. And so before I go any further, one of the things that the Pleiadians say when the messages come through from 7, they say, it's okay to know this stuff, but that you got to focus on what really matters, which is your own well-being. And when you can sort of feel good, fill your cup, and understand what it's like to be a creator by choosing what you think, by making a specific choice to wake up, by making a specific choice to decide which thoughts are good for you and how you choose to feel, and to understand your emotions instead of being completely overwhelmed by them. You see, these things that we never are really taught in schools, correct? So that's what really matters. And one of the things that they say is that why the cosmic family is so important is we have been taught to connect with one another in certain ways within these systems we've been raised in. And when we begin to transcend that, to see ourselves as truly cosmic beings, because we are spirits that have been in all corners of the universe, it's not just the Pleiadians that have incarnated, their souls have incarnated into the human form. There's so many different beings from different star systems. And so we all are this conglomerate of beings from everywhere. And so when we transcend just these separations and these labels that we are given into this physical reality by these systems, when we let that go, when we dissolve that, and we do come together as cosmic beings, then we are able to truly connect beyond belief systems, connect beyond, cultural and proclivities, like the ways in which we are raised in. We really begin to see one another eye to eye as a human being. And that is so precious. And pressure, that can also be a lot of pressure for a lot of people, because oftentimes there's sometimes this lack of knowing how to really connect one another beyond all that, when we really get to see into someone's soul, right? And that's what this is about. So it is about creating these there's real connections, and part of that starts with us, is connecting with our souls and making that an important aspect of our life. See, that's part of what happens, let's say, with our education and a lot of the training early on in our life. We are so trained to sort of cut off, because if we are in tune from early on, we notice that something is off. From early on, we're cut off from spending that precious time with ourselves, or how to do it. Now, when children are on their own, they're usually given a phone or a tablet or put in front of a television and sort of brainwashed and hypnotized, right? And so this is part of the importance of waking up, is realizing how you have been hypnotized, because we all have been. See, when we are very young, our brain waves are literally in a hypnotic state. And when we are in a hypnotic state, we're very suggestible. So in this hypnotic state as children, we were given all these suggestions. And that's why sharing about the agenda and what the systems that have been created are doing is it's letting us know the kind of hypnosis that we are under. You understand? See, imagine somebody hypnotized you to walk like a duck, let's say. And I was at the park this weekend and there were some really cute ducks. So imagine somebody hypnotized you to walk like a duck, and that's all you know. And guess what? They've hypnotized other people to walk like a duck. Now, there's nothing wrong with walking like a duck, but maybe because you're walking like that, you start to get some back pain, because you have a human body and it's kind of difficult to walk like a duck all the time. I know this sounds utterly ridiculous, but hang with me. So imagine somebody hypnotized you like that, you and a bunch of other people around you. So you're walking around like a duck, and somebody comes around and says, hey, why don't you just walk straight up like you have a human body? And somebody will say, you know what, let me try that. And then they'll try it and say, oh, my lower back pain is gone. I can just sort of walk up straight and really enjoy this human spine that I have. Somebody else will look at him and say, what's wrong with that person? So it sounds ridiculous, but my point is that learning this information and becoming aware of it, it's seeing how you've been hypnotized. Because what that does, it's affected the way in which you think, it's affected the way in which you connect with other human beings, it affects the way in which we connect with nature, with freaking Mother Nature, this incredible life force, okay? It affects all of these. That's why this matters. It has nothing to do with politics. Politics is just another tool that they use to divide us. This goes so much deeper. When we understand the way in which we've been hypnotized, then we can begin to slowly wake up. And when we do, we begin to notice, cool, we appreciate technology, but how are we using it? Cool, we obviously need to eat and appreciate eating, but how are we raising and consuming the food? And we obviously love going to the beach and hiking in nature, but how are we treating her? And how are we allowing everybody else to treat the earth? And what about our health? Obviously, we need medicine, but are we becoming too addicted to these dangerous chemicals that have been sort of pushed down the throats of even young children? Are we allowing a medical system to diagnose us into diseases that we don't even have because they must keep feeding this system? Again, this is not about denying that we need medicine. It's not about denying that we need technology or whatnot. It's about when we truly wake up from that hypnosis, we realize, well, how is this used? And why would a small amount of people want to control the rest of us? Because they don't trust us. And why wouldn't they trust us? And that's when it comes back to us. Well, when we don't trust ourselves, we hand our trust over to others, and it never, ever ends well. So at the end of the day, it starts with us. And so, wow. It's an amazing time. It's an amazing time right now. We are in the portal of fire. And I don't know if you've been sensing it, but I even have been sensing it in my life. So many, actually a few powerful ideas that I was hypnotized under in my personal life in the last basically couple of weeks. I've been feeling those burn off. My ego has been fighting so hard to hold on to these belief systems. And the pain that has come from the ego trying to hold on has been immense. And as I've been allowing this process and allowing the guidance from 7 to come through, I've been sensing that relief of finally realizing that yes, if you want to truly ascend, if you want to truly raise your vibration, it is not about locking yourself up and covering yourself up with comforting lies, but it's about understanding that you can still enjoy your life as you are faced with the truth. You see, that is the key. And this is so important to remember, because ascension is available to every single person, every single being, galactically, to every single being. But not every single being will be able to be in the receiving mode of the guidance that allows us to plug into our true inner being, lift up our vibration, understand what it is to be an uplifter and a true light, and then begin to ascend. The beauty, though, with ascension is that when a certain amount of beings ascend, the whole vibration of the earth begins to rise, and the whole process of ascension begins to affect other beings that maybe were before just asleep. They kind of notice and say, well, what's going on with those people? Well, they're waking up. So they start to investigate. They start to poke around where they're not supposed to. And all of a sudden, they are finding themselves, wow, there's something else here. And I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready to wake up. I'm ready to receive the truth. And that's what we are doing. That's what we are doing by connecting. And speaking of connecting, I started a Facebook group, and it's brand new. It's Ascension 7 Facebook group. I'm so excited to share this with you. The link is going to be below in the description. This is so that we can come together. I made it a group so that others, you can share your ideas, you can share your experiences. Some of you write to me and you share your successes with how you have been able to share with the truth with others, with how you have been an uplifter, or sometimes even your frustrations. And I can tell from some of you who write about your frustrations, soon after you write about a big shift within you, because those resistances and frustrations and stuckness, it's really simply an invitation for the next level. And that is what we're doing. We're lifting up. And to come together is a good way to remind one another, because it can feel lonely on this path. Trust me, I understand this 1,000%. And so it is so important when we sort of find that community and are able to plug into something that not only feels good, but it nourishes our soul. It challenges us, and it allows us to really experience the fullness of life, to experience the presence of others. And as I mentioned, not just experience the presence of others from this physical perspective of, oh, they're this old, they look like this, they do this job, I want this from them, they want this from me, blah, blah, blah. No, that kind of connection where you look someone in the eye and you say, I don't care where you're from. I don't care what language you speak, but I can tell by the way in which we are vibrating that there is something so real and beautiful in this connection. And that's what it's about at the end of the day. No matter what we learn, no matter what we practice in this journey, it really, the essence is about us learning how to uplift and raise our well-being and our vibration, and to share it with those around us, and to create these incredible grids of pure well-being that begin to shatter this matrix of control that wants us to be these batteries that are siphoned off for systems that really only give the power in the hands of just a tiny group of people. And we call them people, but they are what they are. And so when we begin to embrace that inner power, and it feels so good. That's when we can really be that light and really uplift ourselves and others around us. I've been repeating myself a little bit, but I know you get it. And because you get it, you are here. And if you know others that could use this wisdom, that could use this information, feel free to share. That is the best way that allows for this to get through, because YouTube doesn't necessarily like certain things to get out there too much. So when you signal it by sharing the video, then the algorithm sort of relaxes and is able to share it with others as well, so that more people can receive these messages. Wow. It was good to come together with you today. Thank you, and I wish you a beautiful journey and a beautiful time during this portal of fire, and continue on. Sometimes it is not easy because the ego really wants to fight. The ego really wants to keep us into its sort of twisted version of safety. But we're already safe. Source is with us. Source, God, whatever you want to call it, Source is right there with us. And when we feel it, when we allow ourselves to plug into Source, we are safe. So take good care. Sending you lots and lots of love.